Sir David the Bard, coming to you in my black shirt. I know it drives a couple of my females subscribers crazy. Alright, I'm coming to you from the North Pole. I'd like this to be my signature video. If I lose this on YouTube, I'll go down to Studio 2 and do it down there again on solid camera. This webcam, I don't know what it is, but anyway. I want to do a, I hope, a signature video for me, not for you, for me. When I was a little boy, I loved Santa Claus. I thought Santa Claus was a cool guy. And when I was a little boy, I thought the Mormon Church was a cool guy. When I was little, Santa Claus used to bring me presents under my Christmas tree, and candy, donuts, and all kinds of good things to eat. Happy times. When I was in primary, I got cupcakes, and I got Jesus fruit. I don't know what it was, but it was good. And when I was little, the world was a pretty solid, consistent place. Now here's what I think has happened to the world. We've gotten very technologically advanced. You can find anybody anywhere. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide now in this world. You will be found. As the technology increased, my understanding of Santa Claus and the Mormon Church began to decrease. Now here's what I mean. Let's start from the beginning here, okay? I start off as a child. Primary is bitching. I love it. And Santa is bitching. I love him. He's a cool guy. Now, as I started to get a little bit older, I began to realize that both of these characters, as I'm going to call them, started to change. Because my knowledge, my maturity, and my technological research began to have me have some questions. Number one, Santa Claus lives at the North Pole. Okay? Now, I didn't think anything of that when I was 4, 5, 7 years old. And I began to think, North Pole. I don't think there's an address up there. I don't think anyone lives at the North Pole. But he does. And I guess he has a wife up there, but no kids. And I go, if he likes kids, how come he doesn't have any kids? Then I learned he has a whole bunch of little elves. I don't know if these are foster elves. I don't know. And then I learned that they have a workshop up there, and they make things. But where do they get the raw materials? Are there flights into Santa's village up there that drop off, you know, I'm going to say transistors, so you can see how old I am. How about tubes? Tubes for your radio. You get the point. So I got to thinking, you know, that's a strange family. That's a strange family. A husband who's in his 60s or worse, and a wife that's really fat, and a whole bunch of little elves all living together. Where do they sleep? Do they all have different bedrooms, kind of like the polygamous? I don't know. I don't know. So then I started to look at the Mormon Church at the same age. And I'm saying to myself, why is the bishop and the stake president, Woody Deem, I can use his name, Ventura stake president. I lived across the street from Woody Deem, and he was the first dean of the law school at BYU. So I'd go over to the Deem house, and I would go to the bishop's house, and they go, do you masturbate? And I'll go, is that a good thing? And they go, no. I said, no, then I don't do it. Whatever it is, you know. So I began to start to see that cupcake and Kool-Aid, yeah, Kool-Aid, Jonestown Kool-Aid, it had a label on it, started to fade just a little bit. That it wasn't quite as good as I thought it was. Well, anyway, The church's way is not our way. God's ways are not our ways. And hell, Santa knows what the hell he's doing. So then I get a little bit older and I start to say, you know, that Santa guy has an open sleigh in the North Pole. Now, I know how cold it gets at the North Pole now that I can look it up. And what the hell? You know, it has no windows on it, no windshield wipers, and no heater. And he's sitting in there. Does that make sense? I go, well, I'm still getting presents, so it must be true. It must be true. So I bear my testimony of Santa the Claus. So then I started thinking, that sleigh flies. Now in 5th grade, my project was flying lift on airplane wings. And I started to say in 5th or 6th grade, that thing can't fly. It doesn't have any wings. It doesn't have lift. Well, those that were still trying to make me believe in Santa said, well, they have flying reindeer that pull him. Now, by 6th or 7th grade, I started to look at animals. I never saw a deer fly. Now, I've seen them jump over the fence on the freeway and nearly get killed, and some of them do get killed, but I never saw them flying. I go, I don't know. That doesn't make sense either. Then they said, well, he has a special reindeer, Rudolph. I said, oh, what's so special about Rudolph? He said, well, he has a shiny nose. And what is that, a mutation, a genetic mutation? No, the nose flashes at night so they can see where they're going. I said, a red light at night? Now, I've been in airplanes now, in my simulator, and when you fly at night, you know, there's a red light inside the cabin of the airplane. It doesn't go out. You can't see shit with a red light outside. So, I'm saying, kind of losing my testimony a little bit about that Santa guy. Then I'd say things like, well, how does he get all those presents into one sleigh? Or does he go back and forth all night long? I said, God, there's millions and millions of kids. I thought I was the only kid when I was 2 or 3. But then I realized there was billions of us. How did he get around? I don't know. Something's wrong there. Well, then we had a couple of houses that didn't have a chimney or a fireplace. That's his entrance. How the hell did he get in the house? We had the doors locked. Would he come through the walls? Like Jesus? So I'm starting to go, something doesn't fit here. But I'm still getting presents, so it's okay with me. He can come through the wall. I don't give a shit. How's he get a bicycle down a chimney? Doesn't matter. I don't care as long as I get my bike. Well, I take a look back at the church, and pretty soon I start reading, and I start going to seminary, and I hear about this guy, Joseph Smith. Now, he was supposedly young, and he decided to be praying to find the right church. And now, I was about 12 these days, and I go, you know, I don't care which is the right church, and I'm not going to pray. So maybe this guy's special. Maybe he's special. So this 12-year-old is looking for prayer to find out which is the true church. Like 12-year-old boys want to go to church. Anyway, I was still getting cupcakes. And those little Mormon girls, oh my gosh, some of them so cute. Oh, anyway, I'm speaking Reformed Egyptian. Well, anyway, he invented that language, the Reformed Egyptian, and I thought, well, you know, he's got to be a pretty smart guy. Well, then he says he sees God and Jesus Christ after 6 times changing. He saw angels, then he saw 1 angel, then he saw 2. But anyway, you know, it's like Santa. I don't care. It doesn't affect my testimony. So it did. So anyway, he says he sees God and Jesus Christ, and I'm saying to myself, who the hell's at the wheel? If Jesus and God are looking to Joseph Smith in a forest, who the hell's driving the universe? And that bothered me. I said, hey. So anyway, went on a little bit longer, and they made me read the Book of Mormon. And I read it a couple of times, and it was as boring the first time as it was the second. Then they started telling me that these people came over in submarines. I believed them. The Jaredites got into a submarine, and they built it. Now, I don't want to be in any submarine crossing the Atlantic Ocean built by Jaredites that were like 3,000 years old. No skills in boat making. But anyway, well, hey, you know, I'm not in the submarine. Let it go, let it go, let it go. So then they come to the Americas, and they were the ancient people here in America, and all of the Indians came from these guys that came from Jerusalem. I go, well, that doesn't make any sense either, but it's okay because they had a Leahona. I go, is that like a laid bona? What the hell is a Leahona? I never heard of one. I never saw one, but they drew one, and I thought, yeah, it must be true. I saw a picture of it. Well, the Leahona had no batteries. It had no electricity. It had no power source at all, but it had a little round compass arm that went round and round, and when they didn't know where to go, the compass would point them in the right way. Well, if they were bad people, the compass would just go round and round and round to punish them. Like, Jesus. They're in the middle of nowhere, and this only navigational item they have, if they're not supposedly righteous Mormons, it'll go round and round and they'll be lost. So anyway, I heard this story that Lehi said to Nephi, his son, everyone is a Lamanite high, and everyone's high in that story. Go back to Jerusalem and kill Laban. And I said to myself, I thought that Jesus said, you know, forgive 70 times 70. What's he going and cutting Laban's head off? So he went back to Jerusalem. I don't know if he took a ferry boat. I don't know. It didn't matter. It's not going to affect my testimony. So he goes back to Jerusalem, and he finds Laban, and he cuts Laban's head off. And then he steals some records and runs back to the Americas with them. Well, I don't know. It might have happened. Jesus Christ. It might have happened. I still had little girlfriends when I was in Young Men's. We called it the Mutual Improvement Association. And you can see it didn't improve anything on me. Well, you know, those little young girls and the little things young girls have, my testimony was strong. So, I go back to my Santa Claus story, and I'm saying to myself, he can't get through the chimney. Does he have keys? And I thought, well, in the Mormon church, they have, like, keys to the kingdom. Maybe he has keys to every house in the world. He just, if they don't have a smokestack, if they don't have a chimney, he just comes through the front door. He has a key, master key. All right, that makes sense. I can live with that as long as I'm still getting presents. So I go on a little bit older and start to go to college and high school and whatever. And pretty soon, with the Santa Claus, my friends are going, there's no Santa Claus. Now that was very upsetting to me. When I was 16 and my friends were saying, there's no Santa, I was bearing my testimony. I knew there was a Santa because he was bringing me presents every year. How could there be no Santa if I'm not getting blessings? See? There's a Santa. Well, my friends laughed at me, and I go, well, you know, it doesn't affect my salvation. I get the presents, I get the blessings. You're stupid. You're an anti-Santa. So anyway, I get a little long with 4 years of seminary, and the 4 years at BYU, it took me to graduate. They made me go to classes there. And pretty soon, as life went on, I started to read that Joseph Smith had not only seen Jesus and God, and there was no one at the wheel of the universes, but he was marrying 14-year-old girls. Now, people in the church kept saying, God's ways are not our ways. Could I sign up for God's ways? I'm 16. I'll take 2 or 3 14-year-olds. And I'm going, well, it could be true. maybe God, he said that an angel with a flaming sword stood up to him and said, you marry those young girls and screw their brains out, or I'm going to stick you with a sword. And I go, oh, gee. I'd cave in. Poor Joseph. I wouldn't want a flaming sword up my butt. I'll take a couple of 14-year-olds. Dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. So pretty soon I go back to my Santa, and pretty soon the world technology started to grow. And they built malls. And I was in the mall one day, and damn, there's Santa in a mall. Now, I thought he was kind of like a 501c nonprofit Santa. But I think he went commercial. Because there's this line of like 20 kids standing there to tell Santa what they wanted for Christmas. And then someone there taking your picture with Santa for $5. God dang, Santa's kind of gone commercial here. So, you know, I got in line. Then my parents pulled me out and said, we can't afford this Santa. Off we went. I never got to sit on Santa's lap, and I guess that's a blessing. There were some Santas, you didn't want to sit on their laps. So I'm going, well, Santa's gone commercial. That's not the, it's better to give than to get. The whole philosophy seems to be screwed up here. Well, then I go back over to the Mormon church and get a little bit older, and pretty soon they're in the mall with Rolex watches. And I'm going, I thought this was the Jesus church, the one and only true church on the face of the earth. What the hell? What are you doing in the mall? Do you have like a Jesus you can sit on his lap in here and just tell him you want a Rolex? And your prophet, he cut the ribbon, and his prophetic saying, let's go shopping. I'm going, Jesus, it could be true. His ways are not our... There's no tithing. There's no tithing. Where the hell did that money come from? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there was tithing at the beginning, and now there's no... I don't know. But if there's money, how come they're not feeding the poor? How come they're not feeding the poor? Well, pretty soon, I'm going to myself, this doesn't feel right. And I go back over to the Santa in the mall, and it doesn't feel right. So what's happened is technology and my personal knowledge of the world and how the world really works has overshadowed both of these organizations. I don't believe in Santa anymore, and I don't believe in the Mormon Church anymore. The Santa Claus organization quit giving me presents, the bastards. And the Mormon Church did too. I'm paying my tithing, I get nothing. I get nothing. So finally I said to myself, I sat down and said, listen, you know, it's going to break your heart, but you're going to have to admit that your friends in the Santa Claus story, they're right. There is no Santa Claus. And you've kept making excuses, and what if his ways are not our ways? But you're going to have to look at it, man. There is no Santa. And the same way with the Mormon Church. There is no prophet that marries 14-year-old girls. There's no church in the world that takes your money and doesn't account for it. And, you know, owning your own planet, now you own it, now you don't own it. And you know, all the things that are going on to the Mormon Church, you got to step back and go, the Mormons and Santa have got to take a back seat. Neither one exists, and I'm going to have to accept it. So anyway, there's my Santa Claus story, and I wish you health in the navel, marrow in the bones, strength in the loins and the sinews, power in the priesthood be upon me and upon my posterity, through all generations of time and throughout all eternity. Thank you. The bard's gone.